Hi and welcome to this week's Wu Wei Wisdom Life Lessons teaching. It's great to be back with you all. This week we are talking all about how to be more gentle with yourself. Now, if you are constantly pushing yourself too hard, physically, mentally, or emotionally, if you're always criticizing yourself, or if you struggle to say no when people make demands of you, this teaching is going to be for you. Okay, David, from a Wu Wei Wisdom or a Taoist perspective, what do we mean when we say being gentle with ourselves?
Well, I think this is a very important subject, Alex, because so many of my clients are the opposite. They are so hard on themselves. In fact, I say to many of my clients, you're harder on yourself than anybody has ever been to you. You treat yourself with very little respect. It's a very important word. You don't respect yourself. You're always pushing yourself. And it falls into the category which I want to talk about in this session, about CCJ, criticizing, comparing, and being judgmental. Particularly if you've been brought up in a childhood where these traits were very important to you, being criticized a lot, being compared with other people, and someone always being judgmental on you.
And I guess that criticism, comparing, being judgmental, that's all stuff that goes on in our head. But I guess the manifestation of that is we can also push ourselves too hard physically. So it's not just all the negative self-talk, it's the actions then we take, the way in which that negative self-talk drives our life in a very ungentle, uncompassionate way.
Well, in that context, being gentle would be, for me, being in your Wu Wei, being in your flow, being able to navigate through life with ease, with authenticity. But as you say, if you've been brought up in that environment, then what happens is you do that to yourself. It's almost like you do it without thinking about it. And this is why this teaching can be so important to you. If you notice or can kind of ring a bell in you that what we're talking about, you think, oh, I do that. This is so important to sit and do the golden thread and to try and understand why you do it. Don't just accept that you do it. Don't accept that. I tell you what a client said to me just the other week. Well, I like to compare myself, David, because it motivates me. If I've got nobody to compare myself again, how am I motivated? But why would you use other people to reach your unique path? How can one unique person compare themselves to another unique person? Their journey, their life is totally different to yours. And if you keep on looking around you and comparing yourself, then all you're doing is kind of scattering your energy. And the client said to me, I never thought about it like that. And this falls into another very important part of Wu Wei Wisdom, being accountable for you. Don't look to other people. If you want to be motivated, then take the accountability and the responsibility for motivating yourself. But you can do that in a gentle, easy, flowing way. You don't have to get a stick and beat yourself up.
So how would you do it in a gentle, easy, flowing way? What would be the kind of internal narrative that will go on in our mind if we were looking at this from a balanced, healthy point of view?
I think the beginning of it, and I think this is the difference in the Wu Wei Wisdom model, Alex. The beginning of this model is what I call Shen, your spirituality. And if you believe in your spirituality, if you believe that you are divine, if you are awesome, if you believe that there's no one in the universe like you are unique, and this path, this road that you're walking is unique to you, and to be the best that you can be, and then to be accountable for that, to take responsibility for that. And that is being in your flow. That is then reaching your potential. Looking at someone else, criticizing yourself hard for making a mistake, or being judgmental about yourself. Oh, I should have done better. I must do better. They've done better than me. All this does is confuses you and takes you off your Wu Wei path.
And I think, David, I can see how this way of thinking has come from maybe childhood expectations that were pushed upon us when we were criticized or judged when we were younger, when we wanted to prove ourselves. So we pushed ourselves really, really hard when we were younger because we wanted to be loved and liked and celebrated. But also it comes from the society we live in as adults now, that we should always be striving, that we should always be climbing, that, it's to pause, to take a breath, to not always be very yang and pushing out is kind of discouraged in general mainstream society.
I think you're right on both of those points. I think the main thing is the childhood. If we've been brought up in an environment where we were compared to other people, to our siblings, or saying that someone is doing better than you, if we had a parent that was heavily criticizing us because they thought that that was the best way to motivate us, it's very easy for us then to take on that kind of guise and then start doing exactly the same for ourselves without ever sitting and thinking about it and working out why we're doing it. And that's the golden thread technique. And we've done many videos on this. What are you doing? What do you think? Why do you think it? That's very important. And then, as you say, we call it the faceless jury, society, and what society thinks. And this is a big driver for a lot of my clients. What is it that they're trying to match in society? And the problem you've got there is society is always changing. So it's like chasing your tail. You will never reach that level where society totally accepts everything you're doing. That's why you have to be grounded, not in society, not in what other people think, but you have to be grounded in your Shen, your spirituality. That is the only thing that can anchor you, that you absolutely accept 100%, that your uniqueness and the path that you're walking is unique to you. And then you start to live your life and make decisions that are right to you. It may not be right to you to earn a lot of money. You may be more of an artist. You may be more spiritual. You may be calmer. You may enjoy bringing up a family. There's lots of things that's unique to you, and someone else will be driven in a different way, and it's for you to follow your path. And that really is what Wu Wei means, walking your path, being in your flow. And you're the only one that can judge what your flow is.
And I think, David, what you said, that this practice of switching from the old way of driving ourselves too hard because we're looking to prove ourselves for validation, to switching to a more gentle way of being and a more gentle way of loving and respecting ourselves, begins with that mindfulness of, as you say, I guess all of this starts with a red light emotion, and we may realize we're feeling an uncomfortable emotion. So whether it's frustration with ourselves, anger with ourselves, upset with ourselves, because we feel we're wrong, we're criticizing ourselves. We've got behind the emotion is the thought, which is usually some form of self-criticism, self-judgment, comparing ourselves negatively. And then, as you say, the key is to slow down this process and to pause and observe and think about where these thoughts are coming from, and is it because I've always had to prove myself? I believe I've never been good enough. I believe I'm not going to be lovable. People won't respect me if I don't keep on doing, achieving. But until we pause and we slow this process down, we don't know, we can't resolve it. And I guess the problem is, again, society and our belief system encourages us not to pause. It encourages us not to practice this form of compassionate self-love because it's perceived wrongly as being selfish?
Well, you said such a lot of important things there, Alex. And if you listen to what you said, you kept on repeating, believe, 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 what I believe, my belief system. And that really is the technique, the secret, if you want. What is your belief system? And why do you believe it? And that's the beginning of the golden thread. And as you said, it normally starts off with a red light feeling, being dissatisfied, never achieving, always hurting yourself, criticizing yourself, not being gentle with yourself, driving yourself. So it starts off with these negative feelings, emotions, and then ask yourself, why am I creating those? That's the real key. Why? Why do I believe that? Where does that belief come from? And I said earlier, the difference with the Wu Wei model is it's based in spirituality that I call Shen. And then ask yourself, would I teach my physical child this? Would I teach my physical child, you have to be better than everybody else. You have to look at what society is saying and beat them. This is the belief that you would tell your physical child. And of course it wouldn't, because you would be gentle with them. Why don't you do that yourself? And this is the power of the golden thread. The golden thread does exactly what you said. It gives you that opportunity to pause and to ask yourself why. And you can do this very simply. Get a sheet of A4 paper and put on one side, I believe, draw a line down the center, and put on the other side, why do I believe that? Mm-hmm. Challenge yourself. You don't need to go to a therapist. Challenge yourself. Why do I believe, as you said at the beginning of your question, why do I believe I need validation? How can someone else give me value if I already believe I have value? Now, if you're a spiritual being, you already have value and worth. Do you believe that? Deep down, as you're listening to me now, do you truly believe that you have innate value and worth? And if there's a little bit of a question mark there, here's the Shen test. Do you believe your physical child has innate value and worth? And you would answer it like that. Of course they do. They're wonderful. They're beautiful. Why don't you have that same belief about yourself? And this is why you're not gentle with yourself. Because you're not valuing yourself. You're not giving yourself that same breaks that you're giving other people. You believe that you have to run to catch up with them. And these are all beliefs that are faulty. And in our model, these are the beliefs that you have to work on to be gentle with yourself. Because when there's no doubt, when I look at you right in your eye now and say, do you believe without one shadow of a doubt that you have inherent, innate value and worth? The answer should be yes, of course I have. If it's not, that's where the problem lies, that you're not gentle with yourself.
And of course, David, we're coming up very rapidly to the holiday season, when families come together, lots of testing family dynamics, and certainly lots of expectations about what we should be doing, who we should be with, what we should be demonstrating to other people about who we are. So this is a particularly important time over the holiday season, the New Year period, to practice mindfully this being gentle with ourselves, even if there are more demands than usual on us. There are small things we can do every day to just practice that self-compassion, that self-love.
Well, there's two things there, Alex. You're absolutely right. Any holiday season, when families come together, because then that part of the mind that I would call the inner child has expectations. Mm. They form expectations about what the other members of their family, their parents, their siblings, their aunties, their uncle, their grandparents, how they should treat them. And so that moves you away from believing in yourself, because that's looking for others to give you value and worth, what we call validation. And that will lead you into wanting to please others, to work on what they think about you rather than you think about yourself. And so the holiday season is very great testing point for that. Then to go to your other point, we should be doing this self-looking at ourselves and seeing the true us. This is what I would call a meditation. And I'm going to ask you that question again now you've had time to think about it. Do you believe that you have innate value and worth? That no one can give to you, no one can add to your value and worth, and no one can take it away from you? Do you truly believe that? And if there's just 1% of doubt, then I would suggest for the next 7-10 days, just sit quietly for 10 minutes a day. I would call this a meditation, and ask yourself, why don't I believe I have innate value and worth when my physical child does have 100% innate value and worth? And as Alex says, if we're running up to the holiday season now, this is the time to do it. So when the extended family gets together, you're anchored, you're grounded in your worth. You're not looking for that validation. You're not trying to please people. And I'll say what I've said on many videos. What other people think about you is none of your business. What is your business is what you think about you, what you believe about you. And this is what being gentle means. Being gentle for me means being in your flow, having truth, honesty, and integrity, being grounded in your Shen, having nothing to prove, just being able to breathe, being able to drop your shoulders, and being able to express who you really are, that deeper spiritual essence that I call Shen. This is who you are, and this is what you should be radiating out to the world.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. And I will put links in the show notes to some of our teachings on self-love and self-compassion that will help you with this topic, as well as some beautiful guided meditations David has done for you on self-love and self-compassion. So if you have a chance, please do listen to those, even if it's just for 10 minutes a day, to really be part of your gentleness practice. We look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye-bye.